Just to kick things off, I was reviewing our internal news feed, and Steve Leisman, my colleague who covers the Federal Reserve, just published on CNBC.com that the Fed is pre-announcing a rate hike this morning that'll take place on Monday, and the early call on Dow futures is down about 750 points tomorrow night. That's not true. I just want to make sure you're paying attention. So we're fine. We're fine. Listen, when you got two people, thank you. I appreciate that warmth. Thank you very much. Well, when you got two people juggling up here, you got to come up with something that's gonna, follow it up. I think Dave was a plant, but that's just like a hunch of mine. So as we look at the current environment, and there is obviously a lot going on, and Jay Powell himself just yesterday hinted that not only is he going to move forward with the tapering relatively soon, divorced from rate hikes, but he did express some concern about the inflationary environment in which we find ourselves. And I'm going to dive a little more deeply into that in just a minute, because I know that's a concern of yours, it's a concern of mine. I have a vastly different read on the inflation experience that we're going through right now relative to some of the commentary that we've heard over the last couple of weeks, whether it's stagflation, whether it's something else, whether it's the 70s and 80s all over again. I don't believe that to be the case, and I'll explain why in just a minute. First off, just to lay the framework of where we are. The financial markets are not at the moment sending signals of extreme distress. So when you look across the broad list of financial assets, you're not really seeing the type of behavior that you would associate with an inordinate amount of concern. Now, obviously, there are some areas that have shown signs of weakness. As far as the financial markets with respect to equities go, as you know, we're within striking distance or at record highs. Dow hit a new all-time high yesterday. The S&P pulled back modestly. NASDAQ is holding its ground reasonably well. The small cap Russell doing reasonably fine against a backdrop of interest rates that have risen modestly in the last few weeks. And commodity prices, of course, are elevated, but in some instances have pulled back rather dramatically over the last several months. So when you look at those things, and I wrote a book in the year 2000 called The Message of the Markets that uses markets as a tool, as a forecasting mechanism for where the economy is going to be 6, 9, or 12 months down the road, we don't yet have a potent signal that something is truly about to go awry. That's just not the way the markets are poised at the moment. And normally, we do get some advance warning in the behavior of markets and certain underlying sectors that would set up a signal that would tell us to abandon ship. It's not there yet. It usually comes when the Fed does indeed start raising interest rates and does it 3 or more times and takes what we have right now, which are real rates that are negative, and turns them into real rates that are positive and become a constraint on economic growth. We're not there. The Fed can raise rates 3 or 4 times right now. We would still have negative real interest rates, and that would be an accommodative policy. So it's hard to get overly concerned about the environment, except to say that the inflation in many ways is real, but I don't believe it mirrors other periods that people have been comparing it to.